Well, hello everyone. This is Mac with Emergency Reporting. What we're actually going to be going over today is the NMSIS 2 or the N2 to the NMSIS 3 products. So I know you all got emails and some notifications and stuff that's coming out that we're moving all of you over to the NMSIS 3 product. No extra charge here, but wanted to show you all a little bit about it. There is some differences, mainly in the admin module that you're going to see, and then also with actually putting in a PCR. You'll start it out the same, but we'll show you that here just shortly. So let me share my screen. And you're going to be seeing, I believe everybody is seeing my screen now. Is that correct? James, do you see my screen?
Yes, I do.
Okay, awesome. All right, so I've also got James Agaret with me. He's going to be assisting and sort of watching some of the questions that come through. If you need anything or have anything like that that you need taken care of, please just put it in the chat, and we will. You'll see it. We'll see it there, so we can get your questions answered there. Okay. We are recording this a little bit later on. I will actually put this in the support page. I want to show everybody, of course, how to get to support if you don't use it already. Please do. Excellent information in there. So if you click on support, where it is right now is under emergency reporting knowledge base. If you click there, scroll down to EPCR setup, you're going to see upgrading from N2 to N3. There's another video there. It's a webinar that we have on our message we have on the bottom, but I will actually put it right here. As soon as the video renders and gets finished, we'll put it in there. So probably either later today or first thing in the morning, it'll be up. Okay, so let's start out. We're going to start out first. This is my test account. So we'll go down to administration. So within administration, you're going to see a few different things here. So let me sign back in. It's been setting for a little while. So under administration, you're going to go in and you're going to see up in the incident settings section, when you had N2 or NMSIS 2, you didn't have all of these fields here. We're going to give you some more in some other areas you need to touch on the admin side. And that's what we're actually going to do mainly today. This is for the admins. We're going to show you here. I will also do the, within an instant, how you start it. It's the same way to start a PCR if you're needing one as N2, but we'll show you in there, and you're going to actually take this video and actually teach your personnel or line people, users of the system, what they're going to be able to do too. So you'll have both videos. So, all right, under destinations. Now, I'm not sure if any of you transport or not, but if you do, you want to make sure you go to destinations here and then add your destinations in. Now, we can add this if you're a transport unit in whatever state. You could shoot myself an email, which my email is under my name. You'll see it's pretty easy, Mac, M-A-C, at emergencyreporting.com, and we can add those to it. If you do not transport, okay, if you do not transport, you don't even have to worry about this section. Don't put anything in it. I will mention this when we're going through the actual PCR. There's a section that we can't turn off. It's just has to be there per NMSIS Tech or the national standard, but you don't want to put anything in there because it will cause you to have to add more stuff because of the requirement there, more information or data putting into your PCR that you really don't need, okay, or won't know either. So that's the first part. The second part is patient forms. Okay, now under patient forms, what this is a little different than N3, but it's going to give you areas that you can go in and add forms that you want digitally signed by your personnel or the patient, and even witnesses on the or for that particular piece of paper. So we'll do one here. We'll actually put this one up as far as transfer of care. Our patient refusal is probably what you're going to use more than anything, but if you do have a transport agency that transports for you, a private ambulance service or something like that, you can go in and do a transfer of care, which you know, technically is needed. You know, when you're doing a PCR, that you're transferring care over to the transporting agency, so you'll have that. But here we'll just do the refusal. Now I've got a generic refusal. That I put in here. So you see the start areas like on other forms and stuff within the reasons down here. You can click as many that you need for this particular form that you're building. And then you can also go to disposition. Now in the new PCR or the new NEMSIS 3, it's huge. Everything is sort of driven off what you need by your disposition, the patient disposition. So you'll come in and you can select these as many of you need. Like here, I've put all of them that had some kind of a refusal type that would need to have this signature signed. Okay, so we would put that in there, and then we've got the active. We can make it active or inactive. So if we're just building them out, we could put inactive now. That way they will not show up in the PCR form when you're filling it out. And then who do you want signatures on here? What signatures do you want? So we've got patient or representative, your crew, a healthcare provider, or other witnesses. Like for here, you would have your crew sign, your patient sign, or representative of the patient, and then like a witness, police officer, whoever's there, and then save it. And then they would be stored in here. And I've got different ones, you know, the patient refusal, HIPAA form, you know, transfer of care, release for billing, all those type things in here that you could get signed. Okay, so those are forms that you could add into the system. Now next here, we're going to look at required fields and customizations. Now within this, you could go in. You see all of the top here, the same stuff that we've had in the system, but when you drop down a little bit or scroll down, you're going to see NEMSIS 3. Okay. We have a frequent flyer in here, which I guess technical term now or politically correct would be super users. We can add those in there, so you'll want to check that. That means when you have first put a patient in there, as we'll see when we start doing a PCR, if you get a first name, last name, DOB, first name, last name, SSN in the system, when you match those three, it's going to recognize that you've already run that patient. So it will bring up the record for you and say, hey, you run this patient X number of days ago or months ago or whatever the case may be. And it says, do you want to use this patient? But it has to have those 3 points in it that match. So if you want to use that patient, you'll say yes. And what that's going to fill out for you is not only your patient information there or your history, but to fill out your patient information, your medical history, and also billing if you're doing that. It will also copy all 3 of those sections in. And you'll see more about that when we actually get to it inside the PCR. And then you do want to collect NOT values, okay? And this third one here is exclude inactive personnel from demographics export. A lot of states actually will want you to send a demographics file to them, which is your personnel, their levels, their EMS license, your equipment, apparatus, and all that stuff is such there. So just inactive personnel, if they're still in your roster where we archive them, that's where they're saying you don't want to send those. So that's one thing you can click off there. We also, these particular N3 product, actually, if you do state reporting, you want to push this one out there. Okay, what this one does is enable N3 state submission warnings. Now, in our system, when we start doing one, it's going to actually show you, you know, if something's wrong with the PCR before it lets you authorize it, because once you authorize an N3 product, it's actually going to ship that straight to the state for you. This particular one will show warnings also, but warnings don't necessarily restrict you unless you click on enforce warning prior to PCR authorization. If you click on that, then you'll have to fix warnings and errors. Okay, errors are also going to come up with this, but this also shows warnings for you. Okay, the next checkbox here is enable option to pre-fill normal exam values. So within the PCR, there's going to be all of these different sections here when you're filling out your exam, patient exam. So with this, you can go ahead and set everything to normal. So if I click on this one, that just says that I want to set that to normal. So that way, when I'm in a PCR and I'm doing the patient assessment, I can go ahead and click everything with just a few clicks to normal instead of having to go into each one of these and select it, because most of the time, most things are normal, other than maybe the problem that we're getting called out on. So if we see, you know, skin assessment, everything's normal, but maybe they have an extremity, they fail, hurt their arm or whatever, then we can just go into this particular one and change it from the normal status. So it's a lot less clicking, a lot more time saving. Okay. Now, right here, we've got the ICD-10 codes. It's more of a billing type or behind the scenes that you're going to see. These are loaded in automatically. Now, I went through and checked some here that just maybe means more to me. You can do that, but I will say there is a lot of them. So this is something that's put out, you know, in the medical field. So if you don't want to do that, that's fine. It's no problem. I will just show you a little bit about how crazy they are. So now, as you can see with orca, contact with an orca, bitten by, struck by, you got subsequent encounter. I don't know, but most of y'all, it seems like to me, if I have contact with an orca, it's probably going to fall more under the cardiac ICD-10s than here. But this is just some that how in depth they go. And of course, our main office is in Bellingham, Washington. You know, we have the orcas off the coast there, of course, but I haven't really heard much of these being used. But I know some of y'all, are, of course, are in Washington State, so you may. So the next one is something we really need to look into is our protocol codes. Okay. Now within here, you can check all the protocol codes that you may use. You can put these in, there's quite a few of those, or you can only show selected. So you can click that and it will show only the selected ones that you do in your area or that you have. Okay. Next up is when you actually go on or go live with this, and it comes on live for you here on, I believe, June 1st. You're going to see that you have certifications in there that NMSIS really, you don't really have. You may already see this in your account where it's turned on, but it goes live on a certain date. So you want to get in here and start doing the things we're talking about, just sort of setup. It's going to make your end user experience a lot easier. You don't have to do anything, it'll still work. It's just going to make more clicks and more stuff that they're going to have to add in. So I'll show you here. So if we click, say we've got the advanced EMT. So if we click on that, we're going to be able to go in and select the medications that they can use, okay, or that they can administer. So we want to check the ones they can administer and then deselect the ones they can't, okay? Same thing with procedures, things that they can do. And if we open this up like advanced airway and stuff, so you want to go in and select those things for that particular certification held by that person. Same thing with EMR, emergency medical technician, or the EMT basic, and then also the paramedic. And you can add others if you want. Now, you see this 2009 in front of these? Back in 2009, most of the states went in, and they probably changed when your people got their new license that year. They just went to the 09 version of it. Now, as far as NMSIS 3, those are the only ones that NMSIS 3 will recognize. So if you have to report to the state, that's what you're going to have to list in your piece or within your PCRs and give that certificate to your people. Okay, that's the one they're going to recognize. Okay, now odometer readings is down there. This is just for transport personnel for odometer readings, and then also medical billing if you have that. If you do not, you can leave these two separate blank and just leave them alone. Okay. Notice there's no save here. It automatically saves for you, so you don't have to worry about any of that. Okay, that's all in required fields and customizations. We had any questions so far? Everybody tracking good, James?
No questions as of yet.
All right, awesome. So these really don't have anything. The rest of it down through here is really no problem, but we do want to go down to EMS agency settings. Okay, EMS agency settings. If we click in here, we're going to see the settings that we have. Now, some of these may come over from your N2. You just want to check it and make sure this is all correct. When you go down, your primary type service, okay? Then you've got your other types of services you do. Now you can check multiple as you see here. You can scroll down through there and check multiple. Same thing here with your capabilities. You can check multiple and scan or scroll through, check all that apply. Also your patient monitoring capabilities, same thing. You can do multiple there. Your level of service that you provide, and then what type organization, your tax status, organization status, and then your national provider. If you have that, you can put that in. Mainly that's for EMS bill for service. You'll have that identifier. If you don't, you can just leave it blank. Then you got your EMD vendor. If you're emergency medical dispatch vendor, if they have that, you can put that vendor in there. If you do have it, of course, your provider to the agency, who that is, your dispatch center. Okay. Then you got your CAD name, what name they go under. And then you come down to census tracts. Now in census tracts, you'll have to go into the census tract down here, find those, so you can follow that link and find out your census tract that you cover. Okay, and you'll put those in there. And then the zip code that you cover. And then you can use the daylight saving time down at the bottom. Then next right here, you've got agency contacts. So at your agency, like your medical director, maybe your EMS director, or somebody that's over EMS in your department, you can put those in and just put that information in for them, just contact information. Then we have EMS statistics here. Now you can bring this in, you can just click on new and put your information in across here, whatever your numbers are, if you would like. Okay. Your EMS ID, if you have that issued from the state, you will be putting that in, or we'll put that in for you, but you'll see it up here at the top. All right. Any questions there? Everybody good? Okay, I don't see any. So we'll go right here to EMS devices. Now within this EMS devices, we can add a device. So if we add one, we can say device name, we'll say LifePak 12 here. We can add the serial number, okay, the type. So we can say that it is a 12 liter greater, manufacturer, you know, model number, date purchased, all that type stuff in here, and then we can add the device. So then it will go in here. So each device that you have, you can add in. Now this is where a lot of times it's going to pull for that demographic export we're talking about. Makes it a lot easier here. However, we still want to put those in the maintenance area. So under maintenance equipment, you want to still list those in here so you can actually track any type of problems or something like that that you have with them. If there's, for some reason, they're out of service or something like that, you need a maintenance request or something like that on them, you want to make sure you put them in here. Okay, so that's where you want to put them to track that type stuff. So let's go back to administration on your EMS devices. That's the other place you would need to add those in. Right, so remember, this is only for export in the system for the NMSIS 3. Any other tracking and stuff on them as far as your problems or testing or anything like that would go through the maintenance module. All right. Next up, the place we need to touch is in the personnel list. So if we go to the personnel list, and I'll just click on James here. So if we open up James's, we're going to go over to the certifications is where we need to be. Well, first, let's do something else. You'll need to have a personal ID in some states, also your state ID, okay? And then on the certification, you can actually click in here and go over. Now, some of these will come over, some will not. Notice this is the NMSIS certification, so I'll need to add that. I've got him added in, okay? Now, if we're going to add a new one, I can add new certification. It's going to pop up NMSIS 3. Then I can go through and with a drop down, it's only going to show those under the NMSIS 3 category. And then I'll pick whichever one that I have in my system that I've added to him. Add to him, we'll say on today's date, expiration will be in 2 years. And then we'll say it's on the 31st. I can add a picture of this certification if I would like. And then we'll say that today James got his paramedic level. So then we're going to add that in. So there's his paramedic level in there. And then for renewals, I can see here, view renewal history. So in 2 years when he has to do the renewal, we'll put that in there. We can go through that process and renew that certificate right here. Okay. So you'll need to do that with each of your personnel or the NMSIS 3 to make sure they have that certificate under NMSIS 3, so or register in the NMSIS 3 program when they're actually on a call or something. All right. Now, next up is apparatus list. Now, in your apparatus list, you're going to see that if we go into one, let's just go into my 1251 here, which is a pumper. I'll go in there. You're going to notice, I know y'all like that little picture of it. So notice up here that you have the NMSIS 3 stuff. Some of that may transport over from the NMSIS 2. If it does not, you'll have to go in there and just select those of what it is. All the NMSIS 3 needs to be filled out. Okay. The other thing that you will need to do is go up on the top, you'll see crew. So on your crew list here, you want to say, okay, it's a medic. I keep a paramedic level on that truck at all times. Okay, and then you'll actually come in and add to what they, how many number is normally responding on that vehicle. Okay, it's not max, it's just what's the normal. Okay. Okay, do we have a question here? James, you're tied in.
No,
do you have
nothing.
a question?
Yeah, nothing yet. Nothing yet.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, no questions. That's what you want to do. And then make sure you go back to apparatus and click save down at the bottom. So all that information saves, and you'll want to go down through each one of your apparatus and put that. Now, one thing I will say, notice this one, that's suppression, and this is EMS. Okay, under the EMS, same thing here, but where we're changing this is the primary use right here. Okay, so if their main objective for this piece of equipment or this apparatus is EMS, when you actually select that apparatus or it's dispatched to a call or whatever in your call, you'll see here shortly that there's more times and stuff that come in with the EMS than they do suppression, but I'll show you that here when we get into the actual call. All right. Okay. Now, as far as the rest of it, there's really no extra things to do in here. right now. Those are the areas you need to touch. Now you may have to tweak some of your roles and permissions to have people do incidents with PCRs. You've probably already got that set just because it's the same basic setup as you had before with NMSIS 2. Okay. So if there's not any questions there with the admin, let's go ahead, and at this point, from this point on is where you would actually show to your end users so they'll know how to use the system. Okay, any questions so far?
Nothing.
All right, awesome. All right, incidents. So if we go to the incidents, of course, if you have a CAD, it's going to come through something like this. If you do not, you'll start up here. So that's how you need to do it. Okay, so let's say we've got a CAD system feed coming in. We'll click on it. We're going to see some things are already there. Now, what I'm going to do is, of course, page 1, our basic info 1. So I'm going to go in and make sure all the red is filled out. We'll say this is a 321 incident. Okay, then I'm going to go next. Now, right here, same way as you did for N2, you're going to turn on yes. Okay, and then when we save that or go next, which is all these are saved, remember, then you're going to see the NMSIS 3 come up here. Okay, now it's a little different than what it used to look like, where you had the EMS field come up and then you had all of the red light, green light stuff come up like the PCR, or excuse me, like the INFRS. This is the new NMSIS 3 settings, and this is what it looks like. So if we click on it, we're going to see up top, we're going to add new patient. Now I have a patient in here, but if you have multiple patients on one scene, that's okay. You do one, and then you'll come in and add another patient. And it's going to look like this when it comes up, okay? So with these, here's your red light, green light coming over here. Now this is set on the national standard, not necessarily your state standard, okay? So I'll go in and I'll say, okay, my responding unit here is Medic 1 or M1. Now it's not selected till it's grayed in or darkened in like that. Notice that these will already come over based on that information I put in the vehicle information when I put in my apparatus list. Okay, so those things will already come over. Now I do want to show you down here right under this, you're going to see all of these times. Now notice destination of transfer care. Here again, this is a transport unit, but you'll see extra times. So if we go back just real quick, let's go back to basic 4 where our apparatus is. And if we open this up here for the medic vehicle, Medic 1, which is an EMS, remember, then I'm going to have all of these different times in here. Okay. Not necessarily for this particular call, but I just showed you how what all they'll fill in. Now, if I make this a suppression vehicle, notice how my list shortens. Okay, the only time that you have if you don't transport, the only time you'll need other than these is that transfer of patient care. You can still put that in the PCR if we look on those times. So we'll go down here to times. If we look down the call here, there's your transfer of patient care. So you would just put it in here. If you have an EMS vehicle selected and you put it over there, it will flow into here. All your other times will come in from your basic 4 over to this particular page in the EMS module. Okay. All right, just wanted to show you those differences in times and how that worked between suppression and EMS setting. All right, so back up top, remember, if it's grayed in, you've selected it. If it's nothing on it, then you haven't selected anything. So we'll say first EMS unit on scene, yes. Type of service requested. Most of the time, this is going to be a 911 response for most of the time in the fire service, okay? So instant patient disposition. Remember me talking about that earlier, that we said this is driven off of a lot of patient or instant disposition, or instant or patient disposition, okay? So when we open this up, we're going to run down this sheet and find what this particular patient disposition is. So we're going to say that this patient refused care or evaluation care without transport. So we select that. Now over here, you see things pop red and stuff like that, requirements in here, okay? So that's where it's going to come in there. Then we've got EMS transport method. We've got ground ambulance here, but we're going to say that this is just we're not going to transport, but we'll leave that alone. Then you've got your role, okay, level of care, any triage classification, and then we're going to have your initial patient acuity. We'll say lower for this particular one. And then you're going to have your personnel in here. Now, normally if these people were filled out, you would not have to fill out all of this, but they will be red, especially for your role, okay? So if I open this up, there's my level. I'm going to say I was the driver pilot for this. And then I'll put done, and notice it will go green or clear off the red problem. So with Michael, I'm going to say he's an advanced EMT, and he was going to be an other in here just for this particular one. We can say any delays, none. Notice there's no red in here, and there's my times, okay? So then we're going to patient care, which is the next block. So we go to patient care. Now, if we put the patient's name, address, or name, first name, last name, and age, then it would pop up. So let's try that. I'm going to see if I can remember what it was here, so I can show you what that does. Okay. Let's see if that will pop. I don't think it will, because it needs a DOB, because it won't know that it's that person. Okay, there it is. So there's your person here. 18 days ago, I run this person. Notice, remember I said it's going to fill patient information, medical history, and billing information. So it's going to fill more of these, okay, if they're in there last time. So I'll pre-fill this PCR, and then that information will pop in. Okay, so there's their address. It didn't select country or county, excuse me. So I can go to county here. I'm actually in Alabama. James is actually in Pennsylvania. So, all right. So then you have their phone number put in. You can have any of this filled out. If you've got any information in there, it will populate over to this new PCR. Okay, also medical history will come over. So there's the patient's practitioners or names and stuff in there, any allergies, immunizations, if they're on any medications. This will be the one probably look at, because we all know doctors and stuff change prescriptions. So we just want to make sure it's current. All right. Then we'll jump into patient care. So now within patient care, we've got our initial assessment here. We'll go through. You've got your activity, patient activity here. These are a little different. Just look through. You can actually scroll down, and usually you can find, something that's sort of unspecified or other specified or something like that. This is having to put in there per NMSIS Tech, so it's not really is accurate. There again, it's not required here. Some states may require it, but the particular one I'm tied to here in Alabama is not. So then you've got your initial complaint. You can say primary. Here's where you would type in exactly what they say, the duration, how long it's been going on, what part of the anatomy it's associated with, and in what organ system. and then just put done. Okay. And then you can go to any symptoms or your impression and put done, and it's going to come up here. Same way across these, your vitals here, same thing. It's click who obtained them. Notice it puts the 2 EMTs that was on the call to start with, or medic, or whatever they are. You're going to say what posture they were in. You got a pulse rate, regular, so it's just click button. Okay. Then you've got your BP, systolic and diastolic, how you took it. Then you've got your respiratory system, your blood assessment here. Then you've got your stroke. If there was a stroke or anything here, we'll say not applicable here, not applicable cardiac. If there was any pain, you've got your Glasgow Coma score here that you can put in down at the bottom. Now you can set that to set max here, and then they'll see that. You got your revised trauma score over here if you want to use that one, and then you can just push done. Okay, then that's going to come up here. Your exam, this is where I was talking about pre-fill normal values. Now, if you see right here, you would have to add all of this. So I'll add new, so it's whatever it is. You can drop it down to normal here if you want, and push done. That does that one. But here's the easy way to do it. Pre-fill normal, pre-fill this exam. So everything goes to normal. Now, if you need to change anything, you would just go down to it and change that particular one. Okay. And then done. Procedures, medications are the same. We'll say that this procedure was done by me. It's going to give you the times you need to be in and the date on there, so you know that your times are correct. Okay. Then you've got your procedure. We're going to say I've done a basic airway here and just airway opened. Okay. Okay. So we'll say the patient improved, no complications. We'll say none. Was it successful? Yes. And then we're going to say done down here. So this is how that starts adding up. Okay. Medications, same way as we just done. Okay. And then if you perform any certain airways, you might need to put it on here. Okay. Depending on what you do and what your requirements are. Okay. Okay, so that's why it's going to come up and sort of fill down through there. Then we have an event here. So if we go to event, we're going to select a protocol. Now, protocols are not per state, so it may not be named the same thing you do or that you call it. So what you'll need to do is go in. Now, the states that we associate with always, they accept this, even though it's sort of a regular list. It may not be called exactly what you do. So we're going to just say airway protocol here, and then we can say adult only, done. And that is fine for your protocol. Okay. So there's no other required. We're good to go. What is required is filled out. So remember, destination, because I'm a transport unit, I will need to go in here. But if you don't transport, you don't have to worry about going into this one. Okay. So we'll just transport mode, and we'll actually put go down and put not applicable here. Okay. Same thing here. They didn't get transported, so this one will clear out later on. There's billing in here for this one, since I am a transport. And then the next one here is files and signatures. Now in here, if you don't use the forms we have that are down here, you can actually do your paper copy, let them sign it, and then you can add that file in here in your computer. So we'll just say we added this file. Okay, so we pick it, it'll add in there, and then you can have that in the system with that patient on file. Okay, if we don't do that, we want to come down and we're going to sign the refusal. This is sort of how it goes. There's your patient. It's going to come over for you. You get the patient to sign on your tablet or whatever, we can select patient signed. Then we've got our crew. So I'll just put me. Okay. And then we'll have a witness. We can say this is the POPO. They're always around, right? So they were on the call with us, so they'll sign, and then we could go down and push done, and then this will come in green and it'll be complete and everything's fine. As far as the HIPAA form, if we have one, get them to sign it, done, and then it will go green and we're good to go. It goes green here. Then the next one is your narrative. This is where you would type your narrative out. It does have a spell check on it, which is good. So, you know, you can go through and look at that if you need to and make it good for you there. Now this review requested, this is for like odd calls and you want somebody higher up at your department to review your PCR, you can put yes. There's actually a search that they can do for those and go review them, okay? If there's any potential system of care or potential system of care or special registry or anything of the patient, you can check these down here. There's also more of a list here, okay? And then this custom here was added here recently for our national custom elements. If it was like some type of like COVID or something like that response, you've got state custom elements you can add, stuff like that is what this area is for. And then you have your summary page. Now what this is going to do is it's going to go back. You're running two because it's not only checking hours, but it's going to check your state if you report to the state. So you're going to have all of that checked prior to you going through and doing this. Now, see, this is not completed, so these are not completed. That's why it's coming up this way. But it's going to tell you what the problem is or any problems you have. Now, to show that, I'm going to switch to another patient here just for time's sake. So I've got the summary here. Notice my state validations come through here. I'm going to look invalid username or password state submission because I've already signed it. What that is coming back is because this particular account is tied to a test area and my username and password for the state submission is not correct. So that's where this is coming up. Okay, but it does give you the state validations so that you can actually see what the state said about your PCR. Okay, and then you would go through, after you do this, you would actually unauthorize or authorize here, put your password in, and then that's going to go in and actually start your PCR submission, and it will send it to the state data terminal or the state agency for your state as far as PCR. So you don't have to send your PCRs into the state. The system will do that for you if that's something you choose. Okay,